It's a, oh,
There you go. There you go.
oh, okay.
Kind of like you're kind of pissed at your grandkids.
I wouldn't have them like this. I'd be running at them with a shoe.
I know. I know. Okay. Good. Now it's just me and you. So it's 1964. It's June, end of June. So all the kids are now coming, right? They're coming from the orientation,
Right.
and they're scared to death. And they've been told to report to Louisville. You can drop your pants. Be fine. And so they stop at Mrs. Hamer's house
Right.
and get your marching orders from Mr. Mack. And you eventually get them here to the church kind of that night, right? The first night they're in town or close to it.
It's in the afternoon. Yeah. That was a meeting that evening. Uh,
And all those white kids are showing up.
yeah.
They're nervous. You're probably a little nervous. This building is filling up, right? This small little
With
building.
locals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Local.
People curious.
What are you saying?
Well, one of the things we had to locate housing for them, and so Fannie Lou had already uh, made up a list of people who had agreed to take them in. So what she was doing was assigning them housing, and I was taking them in the car and taking them to the location that where they would be staying, and then coming back to Fannie Lou's house, and then we informed them that there was going to be a meeting at William Chapel Church. See, Fannie Lou's house was just behind here, just back there, and they said, "Come back to my house and the church." William Chapel Church is right around the corner here, and most of them lived in and around this area. A few Sugarman lived across the highway. I think Sugarman was the only one that didn't live right in there. This was called the Sanctified Quarters because of a sanctified church that was located in this area. And so Sugarman was the only one of the Freedom Summer people who did not live in this immediate area. And so once they were all assigned, about 5:30, 6 o'clock, then everybody assembles here in the church. And they come in, and I asked them to come up here, and then I'm standing at the podium, and and then they're all on the side of me. In fact, there was one there leaning on the podium. I remember looking at it in the book this morning. Yeah, it's up there. And so then I tell the community had been kind of expecting, but they didn't know how many, or they didn't know that they had never seen a bunch of young white kids other than in town, the plantation owners, sons, daughters, and things like that. And here these guys are that they are with us, and they had come to trust me, and I'm protected by McDonald and Citizen and Tucker and all of them. So I introduced them to the community, and then I think two or three of them said something. They may have, I think they may have said their names, said where they were from, what college they were from, because all of them were college kids except Sugarman and the young lady who's writing the story from Look magazine. Everybody else were college kids. And once that happened, I think we went on with the usual type meeting, like talking about voter registration, talking about trying to get people to agree to go to the courthouse, and like that. And basically, that night that was over till the next morning.
Sugarman places a big emphasis on singing. tell me about what singing did to the white kids and the church.
Yeah, look, uh, I never could sing that well, and so I think Fannie Lou's favorite song was "Go Tell It on the Mountain," and so when she starts that singing, I mean, they kind of get in. You know, they I remember one guy named Jeff Sacker, and he was kind of tall and slim, and he patted his foot all the time. And even when he's talking, he's patting his foot. I don't know if that was nervousness or he just kind of had, he was unusual, but he was very good with people. Um, so we after that, we took them all out into the community. We assigned them to housing where they were staying. And I tell you, two most interesting situations for me was if I had told all of them to never leave this community without reporting. We set up an office in a freedom school, and some of the kids that next morning started working on the freedom school, and others were canvassing in the community, but to never leave this area without approval from myself or Davis or Joe McDonald or somebody. And so for a few weeks, everything's going good. And one of the young white girls named Linda Davis, daddy, she went home. She went home to visit her daddy for a weekend. And she came back with a Buick car, canary yellow car. The bottom of it was yellow and a black top. And I disagreed with it basically, but transportation we needed, you know. But this was conspicuous, man. I mean, you know. But anyway, I was living with Amser at Amser's house. So I'm on my way to Ruleville about 9 o'clock in the morning, and my driver instruction was to never let anyone pass us on the highway. Okay, and so Jim Dan, one of the white boys, had become my driver, and so we're driving along, headed over here, and this big yellow Buick passed us. You know how that diner that it exploded just like that, and it looked like it was about 20 little black kids in there, and I couldn't see who was driving it, and Linda Davis is down in there. So I told my driver, I said, catch up with that car, man, and you know, and as we go by there, we could see her little head. She's down in there, and all these little black kids piled all around her, man. And right up here on the corner where the 8 and 49 intersect was the Klan den. There were two service stations there, a Texaco station and a Gulf station. And that was where the Klan hung out. And there was a little drive-in restaurant just if we cross here, and it was on the highway, and the back of it, we could see the church. And we passed the car, so we come on to the office, and then Linda Davis pulls in there and these little black kids go to piling out. It looked like to me it may have been 20 of them in there because they was all packed in there, and we couldn't even see her. I said, look, and I didn't know she had gotten the car. You know, she went home for the weekend, and I'm in Cleveland, and so it's Monday morning, and I'm coming back, and she done had these little kids in Cleveland at some ice cream parlor or something. I said, Linda. She said, she was one of the teachers, you know, freedom school teachers. I didn't know what to say because I was a little angry about it. First of all, with the color of this car and the conspicuousness of this yellow car. And then I knew we needed transportation to take people to the courthouse, but I didn't want to go and putting some black folks going to register to vote down the highway in this car. So we had a meeting. The white kids, all of us met, and we decided wasn't no need of trying to stop her. You know, in other words, she crowed up real good, and yeah, we let her alone, and things worked out. She didn't drive it as much around going places like to Indianola and Cleveland. She kind of kept being around and few trips to Indianola. But and then the next incident was that we were we had a freedom school, and one of the young guys, Jim Dan, who became my driver, and there was another guy by the name of Scattergood, and he rode motorcycles. You know, he back home he one of those kind of guys, and he sneaked off one day and went to Indianola, and he met Zelly, or this is a young black girl in Indianola. She's back now, but they were going to get married, but unfortunately he had an accident and got killed. Scattergood did, but anyway, so he had met her, and I didn't know it, and she didn't either. Now she didn't know that Scattergood was a part of my project, and then we had another white girl named Gretchen Schwartz, and she followed some black guy one night, one evening from here. Mount Bio had an Elks Club where they had parties and we were drinking it. And so one of my friends who lived in Cleveland talked about a young white girl who was at the club. And he described her and everything. And so the next day when I come in, I asked her, I said, Gretchen, you been to Cleveland? She said, who snitched? Who snitched? She thought some of these people in here. I said, no, look, I know everybody around here, and I've got friends everywhere. And she said, she admitted that she had sneaked off over there. Yeah, you know, now what can I do? I mean, so we met. Always, whenever something came up, I called a meeting of the group, and we decided to just leave it alone. But she agreed not. She never did it again that I know of. Now she was shy. So that kind of incident. And then one morning, I was downtown about 10 a.m. in the morning. Now Tracy Sugarman is living with a lady by the name of not Ruby Davis, Rennie Williams, and she lived across the highway, Highway 8, and lived with her husband and a granddaughter. So I'm downtown that morning and go to the drugstore, and when I come out of the drugstore, Tracy Sugarman, that granddaughter, and Rennie Williams are coming out of the grocery store. Tracy got grocery in his arm, and the little girl is running along there with a lollipop or ice cream or something. And Rennie Williams kind of broad and dark. I mean, Tracy was walking along there with him, and now that scared me to death, because right across the street from the grocery store was the Klan den, another Gulf station right across the street downtown from the Liberty. It was a Liberty Cash grocery store, and right beside that was a hotel, and these whites hung out all the time, young white men and elderly. And here's Tracy walking out of the store with the grocery bags, this black woman and a little black kid. So we had a meeting, discussed it, let it alone. So those were some of the experiences earlier with these people. But you know, you mentioned earlier that I was against the Freedom Project from the kids in the first place, that Freedom Summer, but this very reason. See, I felt that here we are working in a black community, trying to get blacks to overcome the fear of white people, trying to get them to see these violent white people was all they ever knew, the people who treated them real awful. So my thinking was that here we're going to bring a bunch of young, educated people into the homes, white kids into the homes of poorly educated, black, uneducated folks. And now they're going to, this is just going to perpetuate what we already had. See, in other words, the black folks are going to see them and treat them like they treat the white people in the community. A fear and dominated more by these young people because of their education and their lack of. So I felt that was really going to hurt the effort. But when I saw this thing with Linda Davis and these little black children, that mean the black community had turned these children,